We are live on our normal day of the week. It's Wednesday, and it's time once again for the Going Broadway podcast. Alex and Cole with you this morning, as always. Cole, what's going on?
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the greatest wrestling podcast ever. We had a really great wrestling week last week, and we have a lot to talk about starting this past weekend.
Indeed we do. But before we jump in, let's see who we got on with us this morning. David Tilley, good morning. Shout out to one of our Platinum Patreon members. We sincerely appreciate you, David. Travis, good morning. Billy Ray Milburn, good morning. Michael Hunter, good morning. Mark Yanez, I hope I'm not butchering your last name. Good morning. Walker Reynolds, good morning. Jeremy Pickering, good morning. And I'll tell you what, let's dive right in. And why don't we talk about, did you get to watch NXT last night?
No.
Okay.
Not yet.
I got to catch some of it. They had a really cool, I'll just kind of jump towards the end of the show. Well, maybe I don't want to. I don't want to spoil it.
No, go right ahead. If anything, Facebook's already spoiled it for me.
Okay. So towards the end of the show, they had Raquel Gonzalez do her little new champion schmoz, whatever, not schmoz, but spiel. There we go. And then they had the debut of
Frankie
Monet. I still want to call her Taya Valkyrie, just like I want to call
LA Knight.
No, I think I got his name down. I keep wanting to call Cameron Grimes by his
Trevor
Lee name. So anyway, they kind of teased that, but then just when you think the segment was going to end, you had Rhea Ripley come out with, as she's new Raw Women's Champion. They do their little, mutual respect kind of deal where they hold up their belts, they clank their belts together. Then Bianca comes out with her belt. They kind of have this cool moment in the ring. It's I wanted to bring it up because it was, really cool moment. If you haven't watched it, NXT last night, at least from what I saw, I didn't get to watch all of it. Not a bad first Tuesday outing. We also have a new NXT Cruiserweight champion. Did you hear about this?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Kushida defeated Santos Escobar.
Wow.
Yeah, in what was a really good opening match. I think that's all I'm going to say about it. I don't want to spoil the entire night for you.
That's for those of you that don't know, I watch my wrestling on Hulu, which I don't have the live version, so I have to wait a day for it to hit. So, but wow,
Fear the Beard. Why did Bianca have Sasha's plates? I'm assuming they didn't have they didn't have Bianca's made yet. But that begs the question: why did they have Rhea Ripley's and Raquel Gonzalez's made? Don't know. Yeah, Matt, I agree. At least if you're referring to the Cruiserweight title change, I agree. That was out of the blue, but I'm all right with it. At least finally Kushida's getting some form of a push, I guess you could call that a push. I mean, anytime you have a belt, regardless of if it's the Cruiserweight title, I mean, I consider that a big deal. Go ahead.
I think Santos elevated it, though, for sure. The Cruiserweight Championship, I think he kind of gave it some relevancy. So I think it's good that they're going from him to Kushida to kind of keep it relevant.
Right.
And I wouldn't be shocked if we see Santos in the North American title picture here shortly.
That's something else I was going to bring up, too. And this isn't so much a spoiler, so I'll just mention it. They teased Pete Dunne doing it. Well, so he did a little interview vignette thing or whatever, and he teased being interested in getting I'm trying to think how he worded it. Basically, getting back in the hunt for gold. So I wonder where they're going to put him. Do you think they'll put him in the NXT title picture, the North American title picture?
How many times can you put him in the NXT title picture and have him lose?
That's what I was thinking. So that I was thinking maybe he's going to go for the North American title, which I'd be okay with that as well. I mean, NXT is really weird right now in terms of it seems like they have a lot of guys that would be primed for the North American title picture, but the main NXT title picture, it's like, I mean, I guess from what I've read, what I've seen online, they're actually not going to move Finn Balor to Raw or SmackDown, so he's going to stay. I guess by default, technically, he stays in the title picture, but then, I mean, who else? Kyle O'Reilly, maybe? Adam Cole, maybe? Supposedly, Adam Cole's not going anywhere either. Keyword there, supposedly. Nonetheless, I agree with Terry. Good night for NXT. It was a good first Tuesday outing. So there's a lot of other things I could say about NXT. I won't, just because I want some of it to be not a surprise, but, you know, a lot of storyline related stuff going on with NXT that was, they're going in the right direction coming out of Stand and Deliver.
Good. That's good to hear.
So, what else can we bring up? Let's see. Well, I guess we could talk about the elephant in the room. And jumping ahead a little bit, Becky Lynch did not return at WrestleMania, even though fans expected it, even though WWE Creative even prepared for it. There's an article I read. I'm not going to try to pull it, but basically they, all but had plans for her to be there, and for whatever reason, they just decided not to go that route. I'm floored. I mean, they even made plans to have her be there, and then they just decided not to do it. Not to mention, in place of the rumored segment with her and Bailey, it looks like pretty much looks like that they replaced Becky with the Bellas. I mean, why?
You can look, but you can't touch. No,
I mean,
on a serious note, though, it's an interesting note though, because after reading some of the reviews and different things, hearing different takes, I've actually read that there's a few things that were changed on a dime still this WrestleMania weekend.
There are up to 4 matches that were changed the day of, possibly rumored anyway.
So, and we're used to having what feels like Mania as being more set in stone in a lot of ways, and I felt like this year it was definitely more up in the air. A month and a half ago, we heard all the plans had changed. Then we heard that they hadn't. Then we heard that some of them had. And even throughout this time, for like most of the past like 3 to 4 weeks, we thought we were getting Bad Bunny versus Miz, not Damian Priest and Bad Bunny versus Miz and Morrison.
The tag that we ended up getting,
right,
which was what was
rumored initially.
Yeah.
Like everything just seemed like it was fluid. It was always changing. And so, there was a lot of things that I think were all up in the air. And I'm curious if they were also kind of going based off of how crowd was responding in the building and maybe feeling like, this still just isn't the time yet to do it. Maybe we wait for this moment or that moment, so on and so forth.
Well, if they really wanted to listen to how the crowd was reacting, they would have just left Hogan off night too. But we did get a return. We actually got a couple returns on Monday. Charlotte returned, apparently in a heel role, which I'm not surprised by that. What I am surprised at is that a lot of people online, on social media, etc., expected her to return as a face character, and I just didn't see that coming. I expected her to come back as a heel.
The way that she came in this last time before she missed Mania, it was kind of like middle ground. It wasn't even really a face turn. It wasn't a heel. It was like middle ground. Like, she was just kind of in between. And I don't know. I there's enough baby faces in the women's division right now that you don't need to bring Charlotte into it as a mega baby face.
Oh, I agree.
I think you're going to get that with Bianca Belair. So I don't think you need to do that with Charlotte right now. But we saw her return. We saw the Viking Raiders return. Who else did we see? I mean, we can mention that Maurice was there.
Yeah, I don't consider that a return. I mean, especially just with their Ms. and Mrs. show.
True.
But, we see her. Well, I don't ever watch that show. Was like this past Monday the return of that or something or
new season? Yeah,
new season. Yeah, that's what I meant. But this is the other thing I wanted to bring up about Raw. What was the deal with the ending? Are we seriously going to get Mace and T-Bar part of the Hurt Business?
See, I think everyone's looking at it little picture. And so, like, actually, after watching a couple, people's takes on it on their, shows and whatnot,
right,
their things, I've come to the conclusion that we got to remember who we're dealing with here. We're not just dealing with any faction. We're dealing with a faction that considers themselves as just doing business all the time. I don't think Mason T-Bar are joining the Hurt Business. I don't even think it's that kind of a storyline. I think it's MVP doing business with two guys who are no longer part of Retribution. I think it was just for me, for it to be they were joining Hurt Business, you would have saw Bobby Lashley out there as well. I don't think that was the case. I think it was MVP just saying, you know what? I got to have two guys that are going to beat the crap out of somebody. Let me just hire these two guys that have nothing to do right now, and I'm going to pay them or I'm going to hook them up with some kind of a deal for a one-off job for me. And that's the kind of vibe that I got, even in the midst of watching it. I never got the, Mason T-Bar are joining Hurt Business. If that was the case, I felt like they would have unmasked because that wouldn't have made sense for them to be masked the way they are in the Hurt Business. It's not the gimmick. It's not the role. If they were going to be joining Hurt Business, I would have thought that I saw them come out and beat somebody up in suits or in something more classy or whatever. If they were to do that, I still wouldn't really have a problem with it.
Oh, I would have been perfectly okay with that. That's what I thought was going to happen. I thought they would unmask and been like, okay, we're finally getting rid of this stupid gimmick and doing it in not the way I would have gone, because if you're going to have the Hurt Business as a stable, I would have just left it as it is.
Right.
But if this was a way to go the route of, again, getting rid of the masks and the whatever, but it's like, I don't know. I hope it's what you're saying. I hope it's just a matter of in storyline MVP just
doing business.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's what you're going to see these next couple of weeks. I don't think it was necessarily a one-off. Like, we won't see it because of the way they left it as a cliffhanger. I think you'll see them attack who MVP wants them to attack, but I don't think it's a Hurt Business thing. Now, Bobby Lashley did say in an interview a couple days ago that the Hurt Business isn't over, that they're just kind of reevaluating things, and you'll see here in the next few weeks. So that was 2 days ago. So I don't think that what we saw was the new Hurt Business by any means.
I hope not. One other thing we can bring up, and thank you, Mark, for suggesting it. They are revamping the Raw commentary team, which inevitably could be a good thing if we get the return of Samoa Joe.
So actually, I'll say even with Samoa Joe not making his return that night, because that's what I was expecting, I thought it was good. I enjoyed the commentary on Raw. I thought that the trio that was out there did really well. So I was cool with that. I'm curious of when they're going to do it. I'm assuming Samoa Joe will jump right into the title picture. I just don't understand why you wouldn't do that. If he's going to make a major return, you know fans are going to go for it. I wouldn't be shocked if he's the guy that beats Bobby Lashley.
Really? So do you think Samoa Joe comes back as a face character?
I don't see how he couldn't. And the reason why I say that is because he was on commentary and didn't play a heel very much on commentary. It was always good things, positive stuff. Like, so I think for him to come back, to bring him back as Killer Joe or any of those type of things, like I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense unless you keep him off TV for a while, which I think would be a bad move.
Agreed. And you could still have him kind of be that quote unquote Killer Joe, but still be a face like he was in TNA.
Right.
There's a lot of other stuff we could discuss, but let's just get right into the Wrestlemania recap. We have 2 nights to talk about, and we'll try to go through this fairly quickly just because we got 14 matches to talk about, and we're going to try to start grading individual matches. So let's just take it right from the top. They opened on night 1 with, well, I'll say this first. I'm shocked that this was the first time ever of all the other times that WrestleMania was an outdoor venue that we've had some sort of rain or storm delay.
Right.
That in itself is a short of a miracle. I mean, I don't know how many outdoor venues WrestleMania has been in the past, but you would think at some point prior to WrestleMania 37, there would have been some kind of a delay, and there never was up until this one, which how fitting is that?
Right.
Just return of fans from, COVID, the pandemic, et cetera, and we get a delay. It's just like very apropos, if you will. Inevitably, we get the late start of it was 30 or 40 minutes later. Bobby Lashley retains over Drew McIntyre in a match that went 18 minutes and 20 seconds. I felt that it was a good opener. I predicted if this match didn't go on last, that Lashley was going to win. I was second guessing myself because they put it on at the very beginning. I was even more shocked at how, now look, I get that it wasn't 100% clean, but MVP had a little bit of a distraction, but it wasn't like he hit him with a chair or hit him with a weapon. It was a fairly clean win for Lashley. I thought it was a good opener. I'd give it a B.
Yeah, I actually had told Alex while we were watching, I was like, I wouldn't be shocked if this match goes under 10 minutes. Like, I was like, I just don't see them doing a whole lot with this match. I feel like it was going to be a dominant win. Whoever won, it was going to be in dominance. And then this match kind of just kept going.
It ended up being the longest match of the night.
And kept going. And I was like, oh, wow, they're actually going to give these two dudes some time. And so I enjoyed it. I would probably be sitting on a B as well. I think it was good. I don't know about Alex. I was really shocked with the outcome. I know I had picked Drew, but so you know, ultimately my guy didn't win. But I was legitimately shocked by the outcome when Drew had tapped and the match was over. I was like, wow, this is actually happening. Like I thought for sure they were going to give Drew the crowd chance and all that stuff that he didn't get last year. So I was like, okay, well, when this happened, I was like, man, WrestleMania is literally going to be a lot of shock value because that was the opening match, and off jump, I thought that was a shocker. So
the second match, and I won't even begin to try to understand, other than maybe it was just a filler for nights 1 and 2 based on the winners. Natalya and Tamina wins the women's tag team turmoil match, last eliminating the Riot Squad. The match also included Lana and Naomi, Billie Kay and Carmella, as well as Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose. This match went 14 minutes and 15 seconds. And I read that this, and I told Cole this, actually, I was watching it. I watched both nights at his house. I even told him, I think this match might have gone a little too long. And sure enough, I read either yesterday or the day before that this match was only supposed to go closer to the 10 to 12 minute mark. Now, granted, that's, an extra 2 to 4 minutes, which is not a big deal, but it really is whenever you started the pay-per-view 30 to 40 minutes late. Overall, I thought the match was not great. Totally disagreed with the creative aspect of it as well. I feel like I feel like I'm being generous when I give it this grade, and I'm only giving it this because there were a couple spots that were kind of cool / entertaining. To be honest, I don't remember off the top of my head what they were, but I remember thinking, oh, okay, that's, for this kind of match, it was, unexpected. I'm giving it a C-.
Yeah, the biggest problem I have with this match is the booked winner. I thought the Riot Squad showed out way better than any of the other people in the match, and I know I think we both picked the Riot Squad to win that match. So, and they did exactly what I thought they were going to do. They carried the match. I felt like they were clearly the best in the match as far as performance. And then at the very end, we get, Tamina and Natalya. Not to mention they were the last to enter the match too. So it was like.
And how long have they been a team?
Like maybe 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, when they got the win, I was like, really? Like we can't even get the Riot Squad in the tag match. Like we have to keep them stifled and down. So that really bummed me out just in general. I thought the Riot Squads collectively had a lot of great spots throughout the match. Other than that, I thought the match was kind of boring. 14 minutes of boring, and ultimately, I would probably be like you. I would probably say I'm around C-, somewhere in there.
The next match, Cesaro defeats Seth Rollins in a match that went only 11 minutes and 35 seconds. I felt like they should have given these guys more time. I missed the first 2 minutes of the match because I was on a phone call, but from what I saw, this was a really good match for what little time they got. Again, I thought they should have gotten at least 15, 20 minutes maybe. And I get that the normal WWE fan isn't necessarily accustomed to the long 5-star-esque type matches, that NXT has. But I think if you had one of these on each night, I think it still would have been fine. I'm going to give this a B+.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the match. I told Alex, I think one of my favorite spots of the weekend was Cesaro spinning Seth on his shoulders, no hands. Like And I know I've seen that spot before, but it was just really impressive, and they executed it flawlessly. I don't think there was a single botch in this match, if I'm recalling back on it.
I don't recall one either. I'm actually going to switch mine to an A-. I feel like it eclipsed that A range, so I'm going to give it an A-.
The only problem with this match was that it only got 11 minutes to really take off.
I think that's part of the reason I was wanting to give it a B+, but it's like, you know what? That's not those guys' fault. So
right. I think they made the most of it within the 11 minutes. I'm ultimately glad that Cesaro got the win. I think he deserves the win, and I'm really hoping that it at least sets him up for a bigger role on SmackDown. I don't even like saying I want to see him in the mid-card picture as a champion, because I don't think that this does him justice. But as we know, he's on SmackDown. The chances of him eclipsing to a world title reign at this time are probably not very likely. But even just seeing him in that picture would be nice after that performance.
If we were back to post-pandemic and we had live crowds, I would honestly be okay with Cesaro going to NXT and having some classic matches with, Karrion Kross and Finn Balor, Adam Cole. I mean, can you imagine an Adam Cole-Cesaro match?
I mean, even saying that, we actually were shocked when Finn Balor did it. So you never know that if WWE gets to the point where, like, you know what, we could still make money off this guy and not have him where we have him. We could see him go back to NXT and really run the division for a while and whatnot. So
and I like Mark's sentiment as far as giving him the IC title, because just for the sheer fact that he deserves it, and the IC title is the worker's belt. But, I mean, he deserves just to be in that main title picture regardless of whatever brand he's on. But like you said, he's on SmackDown, so he's kind of pigeonholed into he's not going to be the guy that dethrones Roman Reigns. At least I wouldn't think so.
It'd be shocking at this point in time with the way they've booked him and whatnot. It would be a very shocking kind of storyline. And
I think at this point, WWE is very sold on and adamant about keeping the what's the word I'm looking for? They're staying on track as far as keeping Roman their guy, no matter what, even if there was another Daniel Bryan type movement, the Yes movement, whatever. It's pretty clear based on the results from night 2, and we'll get there, that Roman Reigns, they want to keep him as the guy, and they're going to keep him as the guy for a while.
Right.
Match number 4, AJ Styles and Omos. Apparently I've been pronouncing his name wrong. I was saying Omos.
That's how they've been pronouncing it on TV.
Well, until WrestleMania, they changed it. But AJ Styles and Omos defeats the New Day to win the WWE Raw Tag Team titles. This match went 9 minutes and 45 seconds. I'm okay with... Did you predicted the title change too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was okay with the title change. It makes AJ a Grand Slam champion. I'm actually okay with how they used Omos in the match. They didn't use him a ton, but they booked and sold him as this giant gargantuan character where no sells everything, just dominant. He did a really cool, and I mentioned this as we were watching it, he did this cool abdominal stretch claw combination. I was like, that needs to be his finisher. And, they didn't have it as his finisher, but I don't know. That's the first time I've ever seen something like that. I mean, I think it was Xavier. He had it over his knee. So right hand on his legs, I guess. And then other hand, he had a claw. And I'm just like, that's a really cool submission move. They need to have that as his finisher. But anyway, they finished the match with like this chokeslam powerbomb combo. And AJ's yelling at him saying, 1 foot. So he just puts 1 foot on, I think it was Kofi that took the pin, wasn't it? 1 foot on Kofi, 1, 2, 3. We have new tag champions. So, I mean, the match itself was, I mean, average to above average. I mean, it wasn't a 5-star classic. It served its purpose. I'm probably going to give it a B-. That might be generous, but I don't think it was that C+ range. I'm going to say B-.
So I really actually enjoyed this match. I had very low hopes for Omos. I didn't think he showed that he had any movement to him before. Never seen him in the ring. He just looks stiff all the time out by ringside and all this, the characters that he's played and whatnot. So I was like, I just don't know if this guy can even move. And when he came out,
I know what you mean, but I don't know if he can walk.
He literally felt like a building, like he just stood there. So I was kind of intrigued on how it was going to go. Watching it with Alex, I was kind of like, I actually kind of like his outfit. I like how he looks. Like he kind of has this mob boss kind of feel to him.
See, I got excited, and I mentioned this to you as they were walking out. It looked like Omos was still wearing his street clothes. I'm just like, are they going to replace him? Is Samoa Joe going to come back now? And once he took his coat off, he had the sleeveless. It's like, oh, okay, well, I was hopeful for a good 1 to 2 minutes that maybe they were going to do like a shocking return and replace him, but. Anyway,
I liked it. And then when he got in the ring, I thought he was aggressive. I thought his body language, the vocals, things that he said in the ring, everything he was doing, I thought it was really great for what it was. I don't want to make it out to be like it was some 5-star match. I just thought it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Very happy that AJ Styles, one of my favorites, is a Grand Slam champion and the first ever Grand Slam champion in both Impact and WWE, so I think that's an impressive feat. So happy with the match. I'm actually going to go with a B on it. Okay. I thought for the time they were given, it was better than expected, so I think it kind of over exceeded my expectations.
The next match, we had Braun Strowman defeating Shane McMahon in a steel cage match that went about 11 and a half minutes. Other than the cool spot at the end, I was just very disinterested and disconnected with this match. I still was, even with the spot at the end, because of my own expectations. I thought he was going to do a power slam off the top of the cage instead of just throwing him off.
Right.
And then when he threw him off, I'm just like, okay, that's a cool spot, but he's done it before. So it's like we've become desensitized to anytime Shane McMahon does a high spot. And at this point, I'm just like, if we're that desensitized to it, I think Shane should just stop it. Because really, unless you're there live, and I might be off base saying this, unless you're there live, whenever you see that on TV now, coming from Shane McMahon, you're just kind of like, oh, that was cool. But that's it. So I don't know. It was better than the women's tag team match, but still, I'm probably going to give this a C.
Yeah, the storyline for this match is what ruined this match, though. I think this match, had we not had the storyline that we were given for the match, I think this match would have felt different. I think it would have had a different feel to it. I think ultimately we may not be feeling like it was a disinteresting match, or an uninteresting match, because the storyline just off jump made me not really care for it, because it was just kind of out of left field. It didn't have a lot of build to it. So that's kind of what ruined it for me. I think the only reason why I would give it a C+, which is what I'm going with, is because the spot at the end where I thought Shane was going to win. It had me convinced. When he was on the other side of that cage, I was like, oh, dude's going to win. Like, wow, they're going to let the bully win. And I just thought there's no way that was going to happen with the anti-bullying programs,
sure,
and whatnot that WWE has. So I just thought, no way. And then when Braun ripped that cage open and grabbed him through the cage and pulled him back through, I was like, wow, that's actually a very creative spot. I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. So I'm going with a C+. I think it was definitely a filler match by all means. and a way to get Braun a win so they can put him back in some kind of a prominent role somewhere on Raw. So I'm going C+.
Fear the Beard. Our buddy Ryan is being a really harsh critic. He gave it a D-. Let's see. Match number 6. Night 1. Bad Bunny Damian Priest defeats The Miz and John Morrison. That went 15 minutes and 5 seconds.
Can we first discuss
Go for it.
the terrible entrance of Miz and Morrison? The 900 bunnies that came out to the ring hopping, and then the fact that they couldn't hear their own music, so they're trying to rap the song and they're completely off the entire time. I mean, it was so bad, and I was just like, wow, this is just such a bad entrance.
Yeah. I mean, and I get that there's like lags and time delays or whatever you want to call it, but it's like you got to sync that stuff up.
They obviously don't have in-ears in, so everything they're listening to is over the house speakers. So I get that it's hard, being someone who performs, I get that it's hard to hear the music on the house speaker, especially with live fans and everything going on, but that's why we just don't do that spot then.
I agree. I think they need to nix the performance if for some reason, like the weather, rain, whatever, played havoc with all the sound equipment. I mean, that was another thing I wanted to note. Before nights 1 and 2, they might have done it before night 2 because I didn't see a ton of this. But night 1, they really should have had some people like just send a group of guys out there with towels, make sure the ring ropes are dried off, make sure the ramp and the floors are dry, the mats are dried off. I mean, there was obviously a lot of water still standing, and you couldn't have guys run around the ring without being kind of touchy-feely, and you could see it.
Right.
You could see the water. You could see the wrestlers just being kind of like, okay, I'll still kind of lightly jog, but I'm like, So it's, we didn't mention this. Mandy slipped on the entrance ramp on the way in. Right. It looked like AJ About did also. I think he caught himself.
Randy Orton even made fun of it night 2.
Yeah.
So clearly it was an issue night 1.
So back to the match itself. I'll say this. I was still surprised by Bad Bunny and how he performed. I expected there to be some decent execution of moves just because it's been rumored he's been training for quite some time for this match, and he wasn't just there for the money grab. Nonetheless, I didn't expect a Canadian Destroyer on the outside. Now, I get that the guy that's taking the Canadian Destroyer is the one that's kind of executing 60 to 70% of the move. But, he still did it and did it well. And someone mentioned it on the chat, credit to Miz and Morrison for, taking care of him, making sure he didn't, botch or screw up anything. And I don't think he was ever in any danger of that. So, as much as I want to give this match a bad grade just because I've not been on board at all with Bad Bunny being in WWE, it was halfway decent. Now, I still think it went too long. I think 15 minutes is too much time. This match goes 15 minutes, but you give Cesaro and Seth Rollins 11 minutes.
Right.
It's like, I don't know. But again, that's not their fault that they had that much time or that they went that long. This match is kind of hard to grade because I feel like that there needs to be somewhere there needs to be a grade in between B and B minus because that's where I would put it. I'm going to give it a B.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the match actually. Not just the Canadian Destroyer was the jaw dropper for me because I was like you. I was like, it was out of left field. You didn't even know it was coming, and he just executed it so well. But I even like the what would you call that? The luchadorish type swing or whatever he did.
Yeah.
That was really cool. He executed the jump off the top ropes very well, where at Royal Rumble he clearly did not. So like,
Yeah.
I think he definitely made it at least watchable. You know, there's been other celebrity matches that we've seen in the past that are like, why do we even go this route? Like, it's not even a match. Like, and what I loved about this match is that Damian Priest did not have to carry the match on that side of the match.
Right.
Bad Bunny was able to have spots, be believable, but I really think a lot of credit does have to go to Miz and Morrison, because not only to be in a match where you know you got to take the L because the celebrity's in the match and all that stuff, so that's already a hard thing to swallow on WrestleMania. But
For sure.
To make the match entertaining, to sell it the way they did, and to really build it up and make everything believable was really great. So I thought all parties involved did a really great job. I did feel like it was a little long, but I'm gonna go with a B as well. I thought it was good for what it was.
Let's see. Last match. Bianca Belair defeats Sasha Banks for the WWE SmackDown Women's title in a match that went 17 minutes and 15 seconds. This was match of the night for me. And I didn't not have good expectations, because I did, but it still exceeded my expectations. A lot of teases with spots and near falls, and the finish was perfect. And credit to Sasha. I mean, literally taking one for the team with that hair whip and the bruising and the welts that were there. I mean, you know, she was outside the ring and just big mark across her side. It was obvious. But the sound that made, I mean, was just louder than any leg slap that I've ever heard during a super kick or some kind of kick spot. Just, I mean, it sounded like a whip, like a legit whip. Perfect ending, perfect booking, perfect storytelling. Totally agree with the creative direction, putting the belt on Bianca. I'm going to give it an A. I'm not going to give it an A+. Just because, I mean, I don't think it. If I'm equating A+ to being a 5-star match, and again, I'm kind of using these terms arbitrarily, but I don't think it was a 5-star match. I probably would have given it 4 3/4, just because a 5-star match is really reserved for that special, like, and not that this wasn't something special, but something about it, some kind of intangible factor that I can't really put into words, didn't quite make. I wouldn't quite give it that 5-star, but 4 3/4, give it a solid A. That's where I'm at.
Really enjoyed this match. I'm with David Tilley. I hate that one had to lose.
Oh yeah, 100% agree.
I mean, Sasha Banks is my favorite women's wrestler, period. But I like Bianca Belair a lot, and I was super happy when she got her call up, and I thought she deserved big things. Her winning WrestleMania, I called it. I thought it was going to be good. I just was hoping that she wouldn't challenge Sasha. So, but that's not what happened. And I agree. I thought the storytelling was great. I thought the build-up was good. I was really happy to see that they got to main event night 1. I thought they deserved that. The whip of the hair was nasty. I mean, it was loud, and you could see the markings and all that stuff. Ultimately, I'm gonna go A+.
I knew you were going to.
And the reason why is that I think a lot of the 5-star matches and things that I've seen usually are like no DQs, or they have a lot of like leeway in it. This match had nothing of that allowed in it, and it still was one that I'll probably never forget. This was a very unforgettable match. It was really good. And I thought they found a way to make it entertaining and special without having to do anything crazy.
Yeah, now let's put it this way, just so I'm clear. So the recent match with Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, that was that non-sanctioned match, that was Meltzer also gave that 4 3/4 stars, I believe. I would still put this match slightly above that one in terms of just quality and atmosphere. I mean, definitely plays a part. I mean, you've got a larger crowd, so it's just the way it is. If you have a larger crowd that's more into it with the sound and noise, again, just the atmosphere, it makes a difference. So I would still put this above that. I mean, if I could give it 4 9/10 of a star, that's what I would probably give it.
It's the execution, though. I mean, again, I don't think there was any botches in this match.
Yeah.
Everything went off flawlessly. You could tell that there was chemistry. It was just a really great match, and I thought it did a lot for the women's division to be able to main event the night and actually have probably what was, everything's opinionated, obviously, but probably what was in the top 3 matches of the entire card, for both nights.
Let's save that till the end. So it was match of the night for both of us for night 1. Once we discuss both nights, we'll talk about what we felt like was match of the entire card. So night 1, what's your overall grade for night 1?
I think I'm sitting at a B, just because.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too.
There was like 2 or 3 out of about half the matches were like exciting, good. I really enjoyed them, and the other halves were like, okay. And you and I talked about this on night 2 when we were watching. It's like, I think I would have rearranged the card a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
For both nights, and kind of switched it up, because I really felt like some of these matches, they would have felt different and felt better on night 2 because they weren't all back-to-back type matches. So
yeah. So you said you're sitting at a B. I said I'm there too. I'm probably still I'm going to go actually B- for night 1. So let's see. That's quarter till 10 already, our time. So night 2, let's try to breeze through this one a little quicker. Randy Orton defeats The Fiend in a match that went 5 minutes and 50 seconds. I'm not going to jump the gun too much because I'm going to talk a little bit about this during our unpopular opinion segment. I'm just going to give the match a grade, and that's all I'm going to say for now. I'm going to go just because of spectacle, if you want to call it that, just theatrics, whatever, match quality itself, booking, probably going to go C+ on this.
This match was really confusing. It was clearly more storyline than performance. It was clearly a way to reintroduce non-melted face Fiend and give him his restoration or whatever you want to call it. But it was just really confusing. We saw the big Jack in the Box, and I was like, man, they're going to do some spots on this. Like this, it's about to get insane. And he came out of it. There was no head lantern. There was no long entrance. Nothing. It was just all showmanship, pretty much. And then we get the match, and I'm like, again, we both picked The Fiend to win this match. And the match goes 5 minutes, and then we see the confusion with Alexa Bliss up there with whatever it was going on, just weird.
Yeah.
And at first I thought heel turn. I thought, man, she's turning on The Fiend. And then later on the night, they described it as she was reaching out to him and he was reaching out to her, like they're together still. And it was some weird twist. Like, okay, so it wasn't a heel turn. Then on Raw, we find out it was a turn. So it's just really confusing. But seeing Randy Orton get the pin, even this to me, the way it was set up, it should have been like a no contest or something along those lines as far as storyline goes. But the fact that Randy Orton got the pin, we both kind of went eyes open, jaw dropped,
And this was one of those that was definitely The Fiend was initially scheduled to go over in the match, and then for whatever reason it was changed. Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon were behind having Orton take the win, or pick up the win, whatever. And I don't know the rationale behind it, because apparently it's rumored that Randy Orton's going to take some time off, like considerable amount of time off for healing, vacation, whatever. I don't know what the purpose is, spending time with family, whatever. But to me, if that's the case, that's even more reason to put the Fiend over in this instance. It doesn't make sense. Now, again, that's all I'm going to say about it. I'm going to save more for unpopular opinion, so I'll leave it at that.
Side note on that, though, is that I'm reading that Randy Orton may not be done with this storyline. I don't know what role he's going to play in it.
Yep.
Maybe we'll see in the next couple of weeks, but already he's not done, so when he is done, that's when we'll probably see him out the door. But the match for me, because it wasn't a match, really, it didn't have that feel to it. I have to go C+, C. Actually, I'm going to go C. Because it wasn't even really a match. It was really more of just a Fiend return and storyline builder. So I don't know if this was the best place to do that. I don't know if WrestleMania, with every match needing to kind of really meet expectations, I don't know if this was the time to do like an Alexa Bliss turn or whatever you want to call it, a plot twist in the story. I don't know if this was the right time. You could have done this this past Monday Night's Raw after Fiend got his victory and was back.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So match number 2, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler retain over Natalya and Tamina for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship that went 14 minutes and 20 seconds. I read that this match also went too long. It was only supposed to go about the same as the night before, 10 to 12 minute range. Not sure what the issue is, but I'd be talking to whoever the agent was for these matches, because each match has, an agent or two that pretty much dictates the layout of the match. So, just messy match like the women's tag match the night before. I'm giving it a C-, and that's, I don't have anything else to add to it. You know what? I mean, I'm actually going to say this was worse than the night before, so I'm going D+ on this one.
Yeah, I thought that they found a way to get at least a couple spots in that were okay. I do want to mention that this is the second injury that Shayna has caused to somebody. So if we want to talk about people not being safe in the ring, we really need to mention the fact that Shayna has now, with the same move, the difference with Nia is that everything she does is a little unsafe, so I think she just needs better training. Shayna is using the same move and has caused someone to lose a tooth, like straight chipped teeth, and now Natalya's got a hole in her lip from the same move. So I just wanted to note that no one's talking about how unsafe of a wrestler Shayna is, though, and she's done it twice now in a short amount of time, keep in mind, and it's hurt somebody else. And so I thought the match was unnecessary. I thought, again, really anybody else in the match from night one that they could have picked would have put on a better match, in my opinion. So I got to say, I'm going to go C-, just because I thought that there was at least 2 or 3 spots in the match that I was like, okay, that actually was all right. But yeah, not good.
Match number 3, Kevin Owens defeating Sami Zayn with Logan Paul in a match that went only 9 minutes and 20 seconds. Again, the 2 matches that should have probably been given, if not the most amount of time, I mean, up there with, the main event matches as far as time given, got the next to the least on their respective nights. It was good for what it was. Part of my expectations were, I was left underwhelmed, but I think part of that was just because of the time that they were given. I think they should have been given more time. So it was good for what it was, but I don't think it was necessarily as good as the Rollins and Cesaro match. So I'm going to give it a B+.
We got to see a lot of great ROH throwback moves.
Oh yeah,
with these two. Again, agree. I wish they would have had a little bit more time. I will say I don't think they needed that much more time because of how the storyline was built for this. This wasn't one of those rivalries where you just thought it was going to be super aggressive. This was kind of thrown together last minute. Sami Zayn's playing a way different character than what he has in the past Kevin Owen, Sami Zayn feuds and whatnot. So I thought that it actually went over pretty well for what it was. When we talk Seth Rollins, Cesaro, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, the problem is that there was nothing on the line in these matches. They were just matches that were booked. And so I think when you have WrestleMania, they want to save those time slots for things that have something on the line.
Yeah.
Something to gain from it. So that's the only reason why I see why they didn't get a lot of time. I actually thoroughly enjoyed even the ending after the pinfall had happened. Sami Zayn getting mad at Logan Paul was kind of funny and whatnot. And then seeing Logan Paul get stunnered was actually probably one of the highlights of the night.
He needs to learn how to take a move, though. My goodness, that was awful. I mean, the dude does a flip, basically, taking a stunner.
But overall, I think I'm at a B. I think it served its purpose. It was enjoyable to watch. I think we were on our toes, on the edge of our seats for this match. It was exciting, and it served its purpose.
Match number 4, Sheamus defeating Riddle for the United States title in a match that went just short of 11 minutes. This is another one of those that it was decent for what it was. Riddle took a nasty kick from Sheamus to close the match. Bro kick, that's what I was trying to think of. Like the toe of Sheamus's boot caught Riddle right in the mouth. I'll address kind of the elephant in the room. There was a prevented botch. It looked like he was going to go for white noise off the top. I don't know if he couldn't get his footing, if the rope was wet, whatever happened, but I will say credit to Sheamus for
adjusting,
not letting go of Riddle. Because, I mean, if at any point during that, because you got to think of how Riddle's positioned, if at any point Sheamus were to, let go of, his neck, his head is going to hit the turnbuckle or the bar part of the turnbuckle or the post. If he lets go of his legs, then, if he lets go of his legs but still holding onto his neck, he could break his neck with how it's, kind of contorted or whatever. So credit to Sheamus for taking care of Riddle in that moment and still executing the move, even though you could clearly see it was a botch, but he recovered from it. Taking that into consideration as well as the entire match, I'm going to give this a B-, I think.
Right. Concerning the botch, I actually kind of liked it a little bit because it shows the realness. Not every single time that you get up to the top rope, you're going to hit or execute that big move. So I thought it was cool that, I actually liked that he just kind of recovered from it and kept going because it didn't make it look, or that he didn't try to redo the move.
He didn't attempt it again.
I really enjoyed how he just kept going. The match was entertaining. That bro kick, the Matt Riddle trying to hit a backflip off the ropes, and that bro kick was nasty.
And I bet that was an improvised finish. I wonder if that white noise off the top was supposed to be the finish.
It was a nasty bro kick. I mean, and it made Riddle bleed. Honestly, it was there. The match was good. Weird. We both said this. Weird that the United States and IC were defended on the same night.
Back-to-back matches, no less.
So, glad Sheamus got the win. I didn't think Riddle had a shot at winning this just because I knew he wasn't really booked to win it in the first place. With how everything went down with Keith Lee, I thought it was going to be a transition, short title run. Ultimately, I'm glad Sheamus has something better to do on Raw than just fight people. So, going to be interested to see where they go storyline from here. But I'm reading Keith Lee. I'm reading that this was actually supposed to be Keith Lee versus Sheamus at Mania anyways. So hopefully now Keith Lee comes in and gets, the respect and whatnot that he deserves. So,
did you give it a grade?
I'm going to go B.
Okay.
I thought it was pretty good.
Next match is Apollo Crews defeating Big E for the Intercontinental title in a match that only went 6 minutes and 50 seconds. A Nigerian drum fight. I don't know what it was. I was very disinterested in this match. not going into it by any means, but I was disappointed with the match itself. After the first minute or two, I'm just like, I don't know. It just I don't think they need to ever do a Nigerian drum fight again. I get that it's supposed to be a weapon-specific hardcore match, essentially. Not hardcore in the sense where there's going to be blood and thumbtacks and things like that. But very underwhelming match. I agree with the booking aspect of it. This was one of the predictions I got correct from night 2. But still, the match itself, I just wasn't feeling it. I'm going to give it a C.
So this match felt like I already saw it, if that makes any sense. Like, they've done the Big E Apollo thing just so much throughout the past couple months or whatever that I just kind of felt like, yep, I already saw this. I already saw this match. Like, there was nothing new about it, nothing fresh. The most exciting part of the match was Big E's entrance. Other than that, I was just kind of like, it is what it is. I think now actually seeing the match, I was like, it makes sense that they took the belt off Big E. I think only having a 6-minute match hurts Big E, though. You couldn't last 6 minutes against Apollo Crews. You've beaten him every other time in longer matches, but then you let Apollo Crews beat you in 6 minutes.
Well, now, in all fairness, we had the return of Dabba-Kato as well, which is, I guess he's going to be Commander Aziz now.
I don't know. Like, that was an interesting twist for sure with the whole thing, especially because Dabba-Kato was drafted to Raw. So, I mean, I know WWE can do whatever they want, but, like, that was kind of a shocker to even see him come out. It doesn't really fit the storyline, though. As far as look and all those things, like, I'm interested to see what they do. Hopefully they make it interesting because, not Cedric, Apollo Crews is not the most entertaining on the mic. So, I don't know. I'm going to go see. I didn't really enjoy this match. The Dabba-Kato thing was probably the only interesting part to come out of it as far as storyline.
The thing I didn't like about it is the commentators, and I think someone actually beat me to it, mentioned it on our chat. The commentators didn't act like they knew who he was.
Yeah, like
it's like, oh, this guy was on Raw, but we're SmackDown, so we don't know who he is.
Who is this guy? I was like, that's clearly Dabba-Kato. Like, he was literally booked in like a main event match on Raw Underground, which we act like never happened as well.
Yeah, which that could be part of it too.
So I don't know. I thought it was, especially for where it was placed on the card, thought it was a terrible placement on the card as well.
Match number 6, Rhea Ripley defeats Asuka for the Raw Women's title in a match that went 13.5 minutes. We have back-to-back-to-back title changes. And I read a stat that this is the first time this has ever happened on a WWE/WWF pay-per-view where you had 3 consecutive matches and 3 consecutive title changes. So I have no idea if that's true or not. I have no idea I don't know how to go back and look and see if that's verified or not, but I read that a couple of days ago and thought I'd mention it. Definitely not as good as the women's match the night before,
no.
But it was decent nonetheless. Don't really have anything to add specifically. It went 13.5 minutes, but I remember thinking when the pinfall happened, it felt
early.
Yeah. I don't know that the match should have been given more time necessarily. It just felt, I think early is the right word. It didn't feel
abrupt. It felt like it ended abrupt.
It didn't feel rushed, but it just felt like, oh. And so maybe the match itself wasn't executing quick enough in terms of building to the finish. But yeah, I agree. It felt early. It felt abrupt. I'm going to give this a B. It was decent for what it was. I felt it was better than a C range. I felt like it was better than average. I'm actually gonna say B- here.
So let's talk about the atrocity of the entrance for Rhea. God, I look at Alex and I'm like, is everything they do live tonight going to be this bad? Like, it was like everything was bad. And I was like, I just didn't understand it. Like, it just sounded terrible. But ultimately, I thought the match was good for what it was. I enjoyed it. I'm glad Rhea got the win because night 2 was a little rough for me on the predictions. And I think I only got 3 right in night 2. And so I was glad that Rhea got the win. And now I'm really interested to see where they go from here, though, because obviously Charlotte's there. So you can rehash a Charlotte-Rhea storylines. You know, she even made a comment on Raw when she was beating her up. Oh, you got your confidence back. You think you're something now, you know, all that stuff. So there's that. There's also Asuka and Rhea with Backlash coming out, which I don't know if anyone caught this. They're calling it Wrestlemania Backlash.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
And that kind of really concerns me because it really sounds like they're going to take like the top 7 matches from WrestleMania and rehash them. Like, oh, we don't really have anything creative for Backlash. We'll just redo all the matches from WrestleMania, the top, 6 or 7, whatever. So I'm really concerned about that. But you could rehash Asuka and Rhea one more time. I don't really know where you go from here with Asuka. So it's a little concerning for me with her because she is one of the more talented on the roster. But ultimately, I might give this match a B+, actually. I thought it was really good. The only thing that bothers me is the abrupt ending. It just seemed like it ended on a weird note. But other than that, I thought they executed where they needed to.
Okay. The next match, last match of the night, Roman Reigns defeating Edge and Daniel Bryan in a triple threat for the Universal title in a match that went that went 21 minutes and 40 seconds. Some really cool spots in the match. Told a good story. At the time watching it, I was very shocked that Roman retained. But having a few days to sit on it, I'm just like, okay, I can get behind what they're trying to do with Roman. I mean, a lot of people on social media are just like, well, why would you have Edge come back and win the Rumble from a number 1 spot only to have this happen? Because they're trying to build Roman Reigns into this mega heel that it's kind of akin to the 80s whenever Flair was champion and everyone would come so close to defeating and dethroning him to win the belt, but would come up just short. It kind of feels like similar to what they're wanting to do with Roman, and I'm okay with that. This is a discussion for another time, but it's going to come down to who's going to be the guy to dethrone Roman. So I like the match. I'm having a hard time, and this is not meant to be a pun in any way because Daniel Bryan is in the match, but I have a hard time putting it in the A range, so I'm giving it a B+. Now, seriously, no pun intended. I'm giving it a solid B+. I promise. No, I'm not trying to make a pun here. That's just solid B+ is the best way I can describe it. I can't quite put it in that A- range. Again, something intangible. I can't put into words what it is. I don't think it went too long. I think it was just the right amount of time. I don't remember any botches. I just have a hard time explaining why I'm giving it a B+, but that's what I'm giving it.
So I loved the match. I thought it kept us on our toe. They really, early on, they made Daniel Bryan look really good. They made sure that they made him a believable contender in the match. So I thought that was great. I actually felt like the match was a little short. And the only reason why I say that is because when you have a triple threat match where I felt like for sure 2 of the 3 really deserved him to be in the match. I still don't think Daniel Bryan needed to be in the match. But for 2 of the 3 to be in the match already and me feel like they could believably win, I thought that the match needed a little bit more selling to me to pick a winner. So that was my only real complaint about the match. Other than that, I loved the spot where Roman was getting like an arm bar and the label lock at the same time from Edge and Daniel Bryan.
That was a very cool spot.
That was really cool. I loved the concerto spots. I thought how that all played out was good. The amount of Usos interference I thought was good because I knew that was going to happen with it being triple threat, no DQ, those type of things. I knew that there was going to be involvement. I'm a little bummed to see no Jimmy Uso involved in this match. I thought when Jay got pulled out, I thought this would be the perfect time to bring Jimmy in.
Maybe that's why I'm disappointed, because I expected some kind of a surprise or return at this point because we hadn't seen anything at this point from nights 1 or 2.
Right.
So it's almost like we're going to see Lesnar, or we're going to see something.
I just expected, like, someone already asked, is Roman always, are we ever going to see Roman win without help? And I'm like, why would we? They're building him to be this monster heel. Yes, he could win without these guys. We know that that's the way they built him. But he's also built this kind of faction, family type thing that is going really well. So I don't know why you wouldn't have him. So when I picked him to win, I picked him to win based off the fact that he wasn't going to win clean.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, Roman's going to get a clean win or two just because
he is dominant.
Yeah, but in this instance, from a creative standpoint, it makes sense how they booked it.
Right.
So I have no problem with how they booked it. But again, B+ is my grade. Other than maybe I was expecting a surprise or a return or something, but they just went off the air with Roman as champion. And I don't know. I can't put my finger on it.
I'm going to go A, and the reason why is because I thought the way that they ended it was actually really cool. Edge doing the whole concerto on DB pretty much just took him out of the match. You thought Edge was going to do it to Roman. We all thought this was going to be the end. Uso comes back with the perfect amount of a distraction. Roman, concertos, because I don't feel like that makes Edge look weak. The way that Edge lost
no.
didn't hurt Edge at all. He got distracted. He got concertoed into the match. Roman pins both of them, which I thought was a really good sign of like, okay, hey, exactly why I picked him to win is because they are trying to build Roman to be that guy. And I mentioned it. He's only had a 6-month title run. You can't have him have this whole faction storyline, head of the table, all this stuff, and build him up to be this monster guy and then have a 6-month title run.
Yeah.
Now, when you've been given Bayley and Becky and all these other girls and other titles, champions, like year-long runs.
Walter's had a 2+ year reign as UK champion.
You just can't do it. I see him losing it either SummerSlam or next year's WrestleMania.
I bet it'll be next year's WrestleMania. I bet he'll have it for another year because they want him to be the guy and they want him to be this heel that nobody can defeat. As long as he's got Heyman with him and this, faction with the Usos, and they throw anybody else into the faction, which I haven't heard a rumor either way if they're going to or not going to do that. I'm just saying that as long as they have this dynamic going, I think they're just going to stay the course and keep the belt on Roman until Mania.
And that's what I'm saying. We haven't even seen the full fruition of the faction. No Jimmy yet. I think you're really missing something with this whole head of the table Samoan bloodline faction that you got to have. So Jimmy coming in. And I would even say that I would really love to see Tamina join this storyline.
I'd be okay with that.
And I would love to see her become women's champion with the Paul Heyman Uso type help again. Like, same as Roman. She's dominant in the women's division, not because she can be dominant. We've seen she's a bigger girl.
And she's decent in the ring. The only thing not to get off topic, the only criticism I have for Tamina is whenever she does her splash off the top, she just needs to execute it better. She always wants to kind of land on her feet to break the fall. She just needs to go all in and do it.
That's what I'm saying. Just get rid of that move. Make her so dominant with this faction that she doesn't even need to do the splash. She's got the super kick. Give her some kind of a power bomb or something, or a submission like you did Roman, and like let there be distractions and things that happen that create what it creates. But ultimately, I don't think we've even seen the fullness of that faction. So it's too soon to take the belt off Roman anyways. So barring any kind of a big movement, I do think if the right movement took off, they might consider taking the belt off of him come SummerSlam if there was the right kind of setup and whatnot. But you got a lot of guys that Roman could go through that storyline would be great. The matches would be great. You know, Cesaro, Shinsuke Nakamura, Seth Rollins. You know, we could open up a lot of matches here that Roman could really tackle, make great storylines out of, and still make him look strong without hurting somebody else and all that stuff. But I'm going with an A. I thought it ended very well. I'm interested to see what the Edge thing goes from here. Was he really back for good? Are we going to see him still on each week? Or was it, hey, I'm going to really do this run up until Mania, and then I'm going to go away for a little while and come back come SummerSlam season?
So what's really weird is that as we're talking about it, it almost seems like, at least with giving these grades, for me anyway, it almost feels like I gave better grades for night 1 over night 2, but night 2 was far better than, maybe not far better, but it was better than night 1.
Flow. That's what I'm saying. Switching the matches would have been better. I felt like night 1, the flow went like very much like stagnant until the end.
Yeah.
Where I felt like night 2 had a lot of ups and downs, and it kind of kept us on our toes a little bit more. Night 1 was like, hey, we're just going to wait until the end and wow you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So night 2, a night 2 grade, I'm going to give it a B+. And I'm only giving it a B+ just because I gave night 1 a... Wait, did I give it a B or B-? I don't remember. I'm giving night 2 a B+.
I'm on an A- for night 2, and it's just because of the ups and downs. At least not every match was great. You know, like I said, the grades aren't really what I'm going off for night 2. Night 2 kept me on my toes throughout the night.
Yeah, there's just, like I said, there's a lot of intangibles. That's just the word I keep using. A lot of intangibles that just made night 2 feel like it was better than night 1, like noticeably better. I'm not saying it was, you know, I'm not saying it was a little better. Night 2 was better. I mean, in my opinion, if any of you guys liked night 1 better, then more power to you. But an overall grade for WrestleMania 37, if you combine it, I'm giving it a solid B.
Yeah, I'm on a B+. It has a different feel this year, even with fans being back, which was great. It was a refresher. I loved it.
I had goosebumps whenever night 1 started. I mean, it was just...
It was a cool feeling, and it was nice to see, and I'm glad we're headed back in that direction of getting it more frequently and whatnot, but it didn't feel like a normal WrestleMania still. There was just something about it. Maybe it was the fact that we couldn't get some of those big stars that we're used to seeing or having those bigger match feels. There was just something about it that I felt like was missing, and so I thought it was really good for what it was. But I'm really hoping for next year's WrestleMania we're able to actually get back to it feeling like the biggest show of the year, because this past weekend really didn't feel that way.
Well, what I've read lately is, and I don't know where SummerSlam this year is supposed to be located. I guess I could look it up real quick if they have it venue announced or not.
I know the plan is to have fans there.
The plan is to have full capacity. At least that's what they want to do. If everything stays consistent with COVID and how it's improving, and, you know, vaccines and all that, whatever. And, you know, this is not the show. We don't discuss opinions of all that. I'm just saying with how everything is going currently as far as the direction, WWE, from what I've read, wants to have full capacity for SummerSlam this year. I don't see... Trying to see if there is a venue announced. So it looks like it's in Orlando. So the irony is it's rumored to be at the Amway Center in Orlando. I don't know if that's a reliable site or not. I'm trying to look elsewhere. Okay, so traditionally SummerSlam has always taken place in August. This year is no exception, as the date has been earmarked as August 22nd. So this website says they're refusing to plan ahead at this time, given the global uncertainty with the pandemic. Okay, well, this doesn't say a site. But yeah, whatever website I found at the beginning said that it was rumored to be at the Amway Center, but I don't know how reliable that site is. Nonetheless, so we will see Backlash and Money in the Bank, which were actually flip-flopped, will be at the Thunderdome. But going past that, I don't know if they've made any specific plans for pay-per-view events going forward. So that is our WrestleMania recap. I talked to Cole before we went live. Next week, we are going to do our way too early WrestleMania 38 predictions. So we're going to put together our own WrestleMania 38 fantasy card. For now, let's just do it as if it were a one-night event. Max of 10 matches. We're not going to forecast is not the right word. We're not going to predict segments or vignettes or anything like that. I mean, so we're not going to try to predict who the hosts are. I mean, we can if we want, but we're not going to say Bailey's going to do this segment
right
at this point in the show. We're just going to put a match card together. Max of 10 matches, however we want to do it, whatever titles we want on the line, and we'll bring that to you next week. So that is our homework for next week. That being said, given what we've seen since last Friday to today, who is your wrestler of the week-ish? I'll give you mine real quick. I mean, I don't want to say it wasn't even close because, I mean, it was. But mine goes to Bianca. I mean, just they had a really great match. Which, by the way, we didn't discuss this. That was my WrestleMania match of the entire card. Yeah, I'm going Bianca.
As far as match of the entire card, I'm really stuck back and forth between the two main events. I thought they both were good for different reasons, and I don't know. I keep going back and forth. I think I would probably lean towards Bianca and Sasha as well, just because I thought it was something special for the women's division specifically to main event as well, but it's definitely a really close race on that one. As far as Wrestler of the Week, I'm actually going to go a little swerve, and I'm going to pick AJ Styles. Grand Slam champion, first Grand Slam champion for both WWE and TNA. I thought it was an impressive feat for him to be able to do that in such a short time in WWE as well. I mean, AJ's only been with the company like, 5-6 years, and has been able to capture every title. I guess you don't count the 24/7 championship in the Grand Slam category, but
so yeah, he's been with. So 2016 is when he debuted at the Rumble, so a little over 5 years,
and has already been Grand Slam. It's taken other people 10, 12 years to do some of those types of things. So really proud and happy that he's been able to accomplish so much in his wrestling career, but such a lot in such a short amount of time in WWE. So I got to go with AJ as my wrestler of the week.
I'm giving an honorable mention as well to Kushida for the match last night. I will say you're in for a treat. Cole, I know you've not watched it. If any of you watching have not watched NXT from last night, and if you go back and watch it, you're in for a treat. It was a really good opener match. I'm not saying it was a 5-star classic, Cole Gargano type match, but it was one of the best NXT openers that they've ever had. We're at that point in the show where I'm going to give you some Lord Alfred Hayes.
Consideration paid for by the following.
I want to let you guys know that you can check out the Going Broadway podcast. We are live just about every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. Last week was a rare exception. You can check us out via our social media platforms that normally are scrolling across the bottom of your screen. Let me pull this back up here. There we go. Scrolling across the bottom of your screen right now. And I'll wait till it scrolls towards the beginning. There we go. So facebook.com/Going Broadway Podcast. Please like our Facebook page. Please follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Twitter.com/Going BRDWI Pod. Instagram.com/Going BRDWI Pod. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. YouTube.com/Going Broadway Podcast. We are also on Patreon, patreon.com/Going Broadway Podcast. If you would consider becoming one of our monthly patrons, we would sincerely appreciate it. We've got 4 different tiers to choose from. Each of them has their own perks and benefits. And if you have any questions, just check out patreon.com/Going Broadway Podcast. Check out those tiers for more details and info. However, you can get discounted merch purchases, free merch, as well as additional giveaway entries into our 3 free belt giveaway that we're going to do once we get to 5,000 Facebook likes. So please share across your social media platforms so we can get to that 5,000 Facebook likes. Once we do, we'll do that 3 free belt giveaway. You get 4 entries for liking our Facebook page, following us on Twitter, following us on Instagram, and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Speaking of our merch, I'm going to throw these up real quick. Excuse me. These are our Hustle, Loyalty, Respect, Parody GBP shirts. They do come in our green, black, gray, white colors, as well as the John Cena colors / Indiana Pacers colors / Golden State Warriors colors. I'm trying to think what other teams have that. I think the University of California Golden Bears has that color scheme. If you're interested in any of these shirts, these are only going to be available for the next, I'll say they're only going to be available until the beginning of May, because we will be coming out with a new shirt design within the next month or so. So if you're interested in any of these, get them while they're available. $25 shipped plus applicable taxes for a t-shirt, $50 shipped plus applicable. There we go. Applicable taxes for a hoodie. And hit us up if you're interested in any of those. But again, those will only be available for another few weeks. We'll have another cool design coming out sometime next month. And I'll drop a little hint for you guys. It'll be very 4th of July-ish. So just leave that little mini spoiler out there for you. So it'll kind of, that's all I'm going to say. Drew, Lineup Media Group is the company that our podcast is under. Lineup Media Group has a number of different podcasts. Technically lineupmedia.fm is kind of our podcast network, if you will. And Lineup Media Group is like the parent company. So hopefully that answers your question. Time for our unpopular opinions segment. I've got a few, but a lot of mine won't be a ton of discussion. Mine will kind of just be like kind of rapid fire unpopular opinions, I guess. Why don't you go first?
So the first one that sticks out in my mind, and we've kind of touched on this a little bit on the show a few weeks back, but my unpopular opinion is that I actually, even though I picked her to win, I wouldn't have had Rhea Ripley in that title match. I would have had Peyton Royce.
Okay.
I think that was actually the part with Charlotte not being able to be in the main event, because that's obviously where they were going with it. I think this was the perfect time to pull a swerve, have Peyton Royce just, do some kind of number 1 contenders match, whatever. Peyton Royce wins it. It's this huge buildup, and then you turn Peyton Royce into this monster heel that cheats to win, all that stuff like they did as the Iconics, even as a tag team. But you have her hold it for a while until Becky Lynch can come back, Ronda Rousey, whoever that person's going to be, that monster return.
Yeah.
In the women's division, you have them come back and do that.
Interesting.
But I actually thought, I knew when Rhea came back that was the only option that they were going to go with. But if it was me, I would have said, let's run with Peyton because we have something here. And I think it was a huge miss.
Okay. So mine's a two-parter, and it's relating to the Orton Fiend Alexa match / storyline. So part one, I'm actually okay for now with how they're handling the storyline aspect of it, only because we don't know a ton yet. I know people on social media are just blasting how they're handling it, and it's like, I get it, but we haven't seen enough yet. It's still ambiguous. It's still maybe borderline confusing, but that's what's going to get people to watch. That's what's going to keep people tuned in to find out what happens. Part two of that is so you coined the term melted fiend just with when he returned, he had the horrible looking mask and get up and whatever. And people on social media were just like, well, why is he back to normal fiend, if you will, normal? And I'm okay with how they did it. They did this like CGI special effects thing to transform him back to, again, quote unquote, normal fiend. And people were just like, well, why would you do that? Why would you only have that costume get up, whatever, for so briefly? And I think if you had him as that melted fiend character, actually, I'll phrase it this way. Because he's back to normal fiend, it feels more, maybe this isn't the right word, but more humanized, I guess, to go forward with how they're running this storyline with him and Alexa. If he was this melted fiend, I don't think it would feel as almost being empathetic to Fiend in a way, in a really weird way, if that makes sense. So
interesting. Let me think. All right, here's one for you. I would have had Tommaso Ciampa beat Walter for the UK Championship. Was that one of yours?
Yeah, and this soundboard is so touchy. But that was appropriate for when it went off. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that was one I had.
Now that I've had time to reflect back on NXT Stand and Deliver a little bit, I think I would have had Tommaso win. And the reason why is Walter needs something different to do.
Yep.
I think that he's gotten a lot of what's the word? He's gotten a lot of recognition for what he's brought to NXT UK. I know that he doesn't really see himself in the States as a wrestler. So I get that taking the belt off him doesn't make a lot of sense, but Tommaso Ciampa would have put NXT UK on the map. People would have switched over. They would have started watching it on Peacock. They would have started watching NXT UK for Tommaso. And I feel like you could have brought Walter over. Think about it. Walter versus Karrion Kross, the monster of a match that would be. So there's things like that that kind of intrigued me more.
Well, not to mention the fact, you can cross-brand NXT and NXT UK. People are, I don't know how they're doing it, but people are getting around the whole traveling abroad with COVID and not necessarily having to quarantine pre or post travel. Again, I don't know the ins and outs of that, but it's being done at this point. I don't know if it's one of those things where you get vaccinated and you just have to show them your card and you're good. I don't know, but people are doing it. Wrestling companies are doing it. Now, in some cases, things are being taped, which, WWE can take advantage of that. They can pre-record, pre-shoot stuff if they want to make things work. They're just going to have, no pun intended, they're going to have to get creative if they want to do that kind of thing. So that was one that I had as well. So yeah, if you had more to...
Go ahead and shoot me. You said you had one more. Go ahead and shoot one more out there.
Okay. I don't know if this will be unpopular in the sense that I'll just say it. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be as unpopular as I initially thought, but I'm kind of jumping the gun in terms of whenever we discuss AEW tonight, but I would actually have the Young Bucks lose the AEW tag titles tonight. AEW needs to do something that is a surprise or a swerve to get fans interested in AEW again. AEW has long since, gotten over the honeymoon phase of, it's something new, fresh, etc. And it was not a good sign. Now I get that it's a pay-per-view. I get it's pay-per-view-esque. I get that it was stand and deliver, but NXT won the last Wednesday Night War. And if you're AEW, you really need to start pulling some rabbits out of the hat, so to speak, if you're wanting to keep fans interested. Because I've long since said that I'm a big fan of AEW, but my interest week by week is waning. And I don't think I'm alone in that. Something needs to happen that is unexpected. And I know I keep saying it doesn't have to be a title change, but that's the examples I keep giving. I thought Scorpio Sky should have won the TNT title weeks ago. I don't necessarily know if it's a big new signing or anything like that. One big example is if you get Brock Lesnar to show up on an AEW pay-per-view, okay, you've gotten my interest back, right. Something like that. But it doesn't have to be of that magnitude either. At this point, I don't think they're going to take the AEW title off Kenny Omega. But this example I gave of the Bucks losing the tag titles, I think you could still pull that off and execute it and it not hinder where they're going in storyline. And the fact that it would be on a Dynamite would make it even more a shock value kind of thing. So
the balance definitely needs to shift in AEW. I think, like you said, the honeymoon phase is over. I think it's time that you got to start letting the company be carried by the guys that are there to carry it. And I think they tried really hard not to be those guys. They wanted to try to elevate those that they brought in around them. But now it's like, okay, now we got to take the reins of this though. We got to really set the ship on course. So
yeah,
totally get where you're coming from.
Let's do one more.
The one I have two that are kind of in my head.
Okay, we'll do both of them. We got time.
I'm gonna rapid fire one and I'll explain the other.
Okay.
The rapid fire one is that I don't think Pinnacle should be a thing.
Oh, come on.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, I continue.
The very simple explanation. I don't think it benefits any of the guys in the group. I don't think MJF needs a stable. I don't think the FTR needs a stable. Sean Spears doesn't really benefit from the stable because he's last man out on the stable. Wardlow shouldn't be with anybody. He should be on his own. Literally, I think it's a pointless group.
I can see where you're coming from. I am very... I'll say I'm mildly disappointed when it comes to the fact that this seems like their Horseman faction that they're going with when it was rumored to be, Cody and FTR and whoever else you wanted to throw into that. Because I was looking forward to being more Four Horsemen-esque, and it doesn't feel like it's that with the current group. Right. The most Horseman-esque part of the group, I feel like, is FTR because they're akin to Anderson and Tully Blanchard.
Right.
I don't feel like, while MJF is a mega heel, it doesn't feel like he's that Flair-type leader of the group. It doesn't feel like Sean Spears fits that Barry Windham kind of feel. I don't know how else to explain that, but I don't not think they should be a faction, but I will say I'm disappointed with if this is their Horseman group that's been rumored, it is underwhelming. Even though I like all the guys in the group, I can see where you're coming from.
The other one that sticks out to me, and it actually just popped in my head, the women's tag team turmoil match had a surprise addition in Carmella and Billie Kay.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking to myself, if I wanted Carmella in this match, I don't think Billie Kay would have been the person I picked to be her tag partner.
Okay.
The thing that sticks out to me right now is, and I know people are going to be like, well, no one would know who she is. I think Frankie Monet should have went straight to the main roster.
Ooh.
And I think they could have made a really dominant tag team, a very storyline-driven, gimmick-heavy tag team out of Carmella's current untouchable character and Frankie Monet. And I think the two could have had very much of a Iconics-type team where it's entertaining to watch. Their promos are funny. They do this like Legally Blonde type, whatever you want to call it, tag team. They go in, they win the tag team tournament match as a shocker. Then they go in and beat Nia and Shayna, and they just hold the belts, and they really make the women's tag division entertaining to watch again. But I know a lot of people are really big on that. No one really knows who Taya Valkyrie is, especially now they don't because she's going by this other name. But I think the gimmicks match so well that I'm just like, I don't know. Like, you have nothing for Carmella to do. She's not going to be in the main title picture anytime soon. Frankie Monet is not needed on NXT's women's division right now. So you might as well put the two together and let them have a tag run or something because it just really intrigues me.
I think I'm going to rename this segment, just call it Hot Takes, because a lot of what we're saying isn't necessarily an unpopular opinion, but I feel like we're both giving interesting takes / alternatives, and I don't know. I'll think about that because I don't necessarily think that's an unpopular opinion because I think that'd have been a great idea. Because I disagree with Frankie. Also, I disagree with Frankie Monet being in NXT. 2, I disagree with them just not using the name Taya Valkyrie. I don't understand that. I do understand it, but it's like, why are you letting guys like Adam Cole come in and use that name, but Taya Valkyrie is, well, we're going to give her a different name.
Well, that's my point, though. When you gave her the name Frankie Monet, I was like, even better if you were to put her with Carmella because the name fits the group.
Oh, yeah, the name fits, but
Mellow
anyway.
Money, whatever you want to call her, I just thought it was very fitting.
Just when they think they got the answers, I change the questions.
Guys, it's time for our fan mail segment. We're going to take a few questions, and then we're going to discuss Dynamite tonight, and then we're going to close out the show. We got about 15 more minutes, and then I gotta be off here. I have a meeting I got to jump on, so I'm going to scroll back to where someone asked a really good question earlier. Hopefully I can find it. Let's see. Man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. I knew I should have highlighted and copied and pasted it into a document, but I didn't. Like I said, guys, get your questions in. I can't find it. Darn it. All right. Well, I can't find it. I'm sorry. Get your questions in. Normally, I will post ahead of time and get your questions ahead of time, and I did not do that. So, any fan mail questions, get them in. We'll take a couple.
Do you remember what that question was?
I don't. I just remember seeing that, and I'm like, oh, that's a great question. Oh, man.
Well, here's one.
Can't find it. Oh, well.
Who is next for Roman? David Tilley asks, who's next for Roman? That's a tough question.
So I'll preface by saying whoever's next for Roman is not going to take the belt off of him.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Big E. They took the IC off him. I mean, they could keep him in the IC title picture, I suppose, but I don't want to say who my long-term guy is to take the belt off him, because that's going to play into my WrestleMania 38 predictions, which, well, again, we're going to do that next week. Way too early WrestleMania 38 predictions, that is. Man. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they keep Edge in the picture. Let's put it this way. I don't think it's going to be somebody out of left field. I think it's going to be they'll do a combination of they'll do one of two things or a combination of both. They'll keep Edge in the title picture. They'll throw someone into the title picture that just possibly completed a storyline with somebody else. So Big E. Jeff Hardy, maybe?
He's on Raw.
That's right. Why am I thinking Hardy? Man, major brain lapse there. I don't know why I thought Jeff Hardy was on Smack. How long has he been on Raw?
Since the Sheamus brought, like, they did the whole
That's right. Why am I okay?
draft, and he got
Yeah.
drafted to Raw.
Brain lapse. Okay. I don't know. I got nothing.
I'm actually sitting on Shinsuke Nakamura.
You think?
They kind of teased it a little bit. I think he's the perfect candidate to come in and put on an exciting match, an interesting feud, the whole shebang without having to give him the win.
Yeah.
So I like Shinsuke. I wouldn't be shocked if it's Cesaro with the big win, and I actually wouldn't be shocked if it's Seth Rollins.
I see. Seth was my other go-to, but you have that heel versus heel dynamic, and I don't know if that's the route that they want to go or not. I could see them having Cesaro and Seth be in the title picture, kind of just, kind of combining integrating the storylines, I guess. Take Jeremy's question. What do you guys think about the Lance Archer Sting interaction? I'm kind of indifferent towards it. I don't really have an opinion either way. That's a perfect example, though. It's kind of just like another thing on AEW that I'm just kind of. It doesn't appeal to me. No disrespect to Lance Archer, no disrespect to Sting, but I feel like you could be using them both in a different capacity.
My thing with Sting is that I feel like because you signed him, you have to have something for him, and it's almost out of place. Like, Lance Archer doesn't need a Sting match to be viewed as a top guy. Just make him a top guy. He's clearly got the size. He's clearly got the mic skills along with Jake the Snake with him. He's clearly got the look. Like, you might as well just make him a top guy if you want to make him. Doing this thing with Sting just kind of seems like, oh, we got nothing. It almost feels like a WWE thing to say to him. Like, we don't really have anything for you to do right now, so just feud with Sting. Like,
yeah, pretty much.
So not indifferent on it.
We'll take this last question from Stacy. When do you think Becky is actually going to return? People are thinking that since she didn't come back for Raw, that she's coming back during SmackDown in for Bianca, which to me doesn't make sense. What are your thoughts? I mean, regardless of who she's going after, they still could have had her return at Mania. They could have made it work somehow. I don't know. Let's put it this way. I wouldn't be shocked if they have her on SmackDown because that's where Seth is. And I know it would be a convenience thing for them both to be on the same brand. And I think they could make a storyline work if they have her on SmackDown. But as far as when she's going to return, I thought it would have been at Mania when you got the live crowd. You would have gotten the response. Do you save her for SummerSlam when that's, rumored to be the next time you have a live crowd? That's a long time. That's what, 4 months? May, June, July. That's 4 months away.
So it really depends for me because this is where I'm at. I actually said this to you in private. It would make sense for Becky to go to SmackDown because they like to try to keep couples together, especially ones that are prominent couples. They're not like little flings.
Yeah.
Obviously, Seth and Becky have a kid together. They're engaged, whatever the case may be. Like, they're a thing. But But you also have to balance the scales in the women's division between Raw and SmackDown. If you send Becky to SmackDown, you have Bayley, Becky, and Sasha on SmackDown with Bianca Belair as the champion. If you don't put her on Raw, you're leaving Raw with Charlotte, Rhea, and Asuka. There's really nobody else on the Raw roster currently, other than like Shayna and Nia, who are tag champs, that you would even really consider as a top contender for anything.
Sure.
So I don't think you can bring Becky to SmackDown without hurting Raw in that process. I think if you're gonna bring Becky back, it has to be to Raw. The other thing is that if you bring Becky back to SmackDown with Seth being there, you almost have to act like they have no relation whatsoever, because Becky's obviously going to come back face, and Seth is obviously running heel right now.
Sure.
So I don't know. I struggle with that question, because if she came back at WrestleMania, it almost felt like it would have been a one-off appearance, though. I don't know if her coming back at Mania would have been, unless you got her involved in one of the title matches, which I think would have been a disservice to either match. I think it would have just been her interrupting Bayley as a moment, and then you don't see her again for a while. I don't know if she's ready to come back. I know she's been training. I know like all the baby procedure type stuffs are done, but it doesn't mean that she's ready to go from being mom back to wrestler.
Sure.
So I wouldn't be shocked if it's SummerSlam, to be honest, just because storyline, there's no reason to bring her back in the next 2 to 3 weeks. If they're doing WrestleMania Backlash, she wouldn't fit in any storyline.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to bring her back then. I don't think the next couple pay-per-views make sense unless you're going to have her in Money in the Bank. If you bring her back from Money in the Bank, and
unless I don't think she comes back without a crowd.
So that's my only thought, is that Money in the Bank would be the only thing that makes sense, because then you would give her the briefcase for her to re-win her title back at some point in time. But I don't think she needs the briefcase. I'm a big believer that the briefcase should be to elevate someone like a Peyton Royce or somebody like that who you normally wouldn't see in the title picture, who could now be in the title picture. So
yeah,
I think SummerSlam is more of a believable bet, because she would have a lot of time to be mom. You have time to figure out when are we going back to week crowds too.
Yeah.
Because that's when you're going to want Becky and Seth on the same show and traveling together and all that stuff. So closer to the summer is probably when we're going to be closer to a draft, where we could realign the women's division to where Becky can be on the same show as Seth.
The more we talk about it, I think I'm in agreement. I think it'll be SummerSlam. I'll answer one more question just because it'll be quick. Billy Ray Milburn asks, when is the next watch party? Our next watch party will be AW Double or Nothing, and I believe that's May 30th. It's on a Sunday. I'm going to double check. 30th or 31st?
I think it's 30th.
I just know it's a Sunday. Yeah, it's okay. It's the 30th. So Sunday, May 30th. Join us at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. Eric Bischoff actually did a video for us and gave us a nice little shout out and helped plug that watch party for us. So check that video out. Thanks to Mr. Bischoff for doing that for us. We sincerely appreciate it. Let's briefly discuss Dynamite tonight. We've got Jericho in the Inner Circle speaking for the first time since they were attacked by Pinnacle. We also have the AEW Tag Title match tonight, as I mentioned, Young Bucks against Pac and Rey Fenix. Let's see. So Darby Allin defends the TNT title against Matt Hardy as well. What else? So it looks like Chris Statlander is returning to ring action against Amber Nova. Anthony Ogogo makes his in-ring debut tonight as well. And they're teasing teasing an interaction between Jade Cargill and Red Velvet, potentially. Let's see. Oh, no, they have a match tonight. Jade Cargill and Red Velvet have a one-on-one match tonight. Interesting. That's about going to do it for us for this week, guys. Thanks for joining us. We sincerely appreciate it. Any final thoughts from you?
As always, thank you for watching the greatest wrestling podcast ever. We sincerely appreciate it. Love seeing all your guys' thoughts on Wrestlemania weekend, as well as our thoughts on our unpopular opinions, our fan mail segments. So thank you guys for tuning in for all that. Make sure you go and get that Going Broadway podcast, Hustle, Loyalty, Respect merchandise, only available for a few more weeks. So make sure you get it. You're going to want them. You got to have them. Get them today. And as always, I leave you with your favorite thing.
Thanks for joining us, guys, and we will see you next week.
And so, goodbye. Mwah. And good night. Bang!
This podcast was a presentation of lightupmedia.fm.